Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyerboxingnews.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, there is a big boxing card that's taking place in Brooklyn this weekend, right? This is a big moment for Brooklyn. As you look at the fights, don't just look at the fighters. Look at the crowd. Look at the community. Look at the building, right? New York right now, in my opinion, is an underserved boxing market. You have a lot of talent in Brooklyn, and this is a new venue. It's the home of the New York Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, right? And this possibly could be a serious contender to Madison Square Garden as the premier boxing venue in New York City going forward, right? So understand the crowd is going to be there. There's going to be a sense of civic pride you shouldn't take for granted. Now, one of the fights is New York's own Paulie Malignaggi, and he's fighting Pablo Cano, right? Malignaggi is a huge favorite. He's a better than 6-1 favorite. Cano, relatively unknown, is a 4-1 underdog. You know my motto. Let's boldly go wherever the film takes us, right? Make no mistake, Malignaggi's going to be the crowd favorite, and the crowd's going to be out, right? They're going to be rooting for Malignaggi. New Yorkers understand Malignaggi. When you see Malignaggi's style and his swag, New Yorkers love that. But I've looked at the film, and Pablo Cano looks awfully good to me. I am impressed by what I see. On my YouTube channel page, I've posted the highlights from Cano's work against Erik Morales. I'll put it to you this way. When Erik Morales is on his game, in my opinion, he is a much better fighter than Paulie Malignaggi, right? I'm talking about an in-shape Morales, not the Morales who couldn't even make weight against Danny Garcia. And I'll tell you what, Cano looks great in that fight. He looks underrated to me in the fight. Morales no longer has the legs that he once did. So Morales is pressing the action throughout, right? Understand, Morales is a technician. He's two-handed, right? He's in there trying to solve your puzzle. He's testing you both from the left side and the right side. Cano fights much of the early part of the fight, at times on his back foot. And yet, against a technician coming at him with everything, body shots mixed in, the combinations, Morales is trying everything on Cano. Cano not only holds his own, in my opinion, Cano wins most of the early rounds of the fight. In fact, forget the bad visual at the end of the fight when Cano's corner pulls the plug. Just understand that against Erik Morales, who, if I had a Hall of Fame for boxers, he'd be in the Hall of Fame, right? Right now, while he's fighting. Against a Hall of Famer, Cano lands 42% of his power shots. Now keep in mind, he's not throwing 2 or 3 power shots to get this high percentage. No, he throws 284 power punches, right? In fact, he actually outthrows Erik Morales. He throws 652 punches to Morales' 561. This was an inspired Erik Morales. And even toward the end of the fight, in fact, even the early part of the last round, the 10th round, Before Cano's corner stops the fight, Cano was very much in this fight. The punch he had a problem with was Erik Morales' right hand. Understand, up top, right? Understand, Paulie Malignaggi, in my opinion, doesn't have a right hand, right? Morales also had to frame the right hand. He would come in, do feints, throw combinations, then come back with that right hand, right? Morales had to set up the right hand. I don't think Paulie Malignaggi, who had right shoulder surgery a long time ago, is going to be able to stay in the pocket and do the things that Erik Morales was able to do. Make no mistake, too, Cano's a warrior. He didn't want the fight stopped. The doctor looks at his eye. Cano wants to continue. It's his corner after the round that stops the fight. Also, disregard some of the HBO commentary, and I love Emanuel Stewart, but disregard it. They want you to believe that, oh, a stoppage was coming and stuff like that. There's no guarantee on that. And let me just say, he's very much in this fight. That's evident from the CompuBox numbers. In round 9, this is the round before Cano's corner pulls the plug. Erik Morales throws 25 punches, he lands 15. He lands 60% of his punches, right? Excuse me, that's power punches, right? But understand, Cano, in the 9th round, throws 30 power punches, and he lands 12. He lands 40% of his power punches. Also, in that 9th round, total punches, Morales throws 56, lands 23, right? 41%. But understand, Cano throws 68 total punches in the 9th round, and he lands 23. He lands a healthy 34%. This is the round right before he stopped. Now, Paulie Malignaggi beat Shinchenko. But understand, that was a jab fest. Paulie Malignaggi has great legs, great balance, and a great jab, right? He keeps you off balance. He throws a great jab. He can move around the ring. That's what he did against Shinchenko, right? But understand, when that fight ended, Paulie Malignaggi had only thrown 179 power punches, right? The guy throwing the bulk of the power punches in this fight is going to be the 4-1 underdog, Pablo Cano. Let me also point out that he's highly skilled. In other words, he has, let's say, wide coverage. He reminds me of Antonio Margarito in some ways. He throws punches wide, but keep in mind, against a mover, that's actually a bit of an advantage. Because since Paulie Malignaggi is not going to stay in the pocket and try to dissect him like Erik Morales did, since Malignaggi is really going to stick and move, the point is, as Malignaggi moves, let's say, Malignaggi moves to his left, toward Cano's right, Cano throws the kind of power punches where he can hit a mover moving at that angle, right? Also, Cano is two-handed, and what I like with Cano is when he's on his front foot, he comes in and he throws the kind of combinations that are hard to duck all the punches. In other words, he'll throw a punch to your rib cage, right? To your right rib cage, then he'll come back with a high right hand. In other words, if you're a defender, you really have to be picking off shots. In a sense, he's a combination fighter. He's like Margarito in that he destabilizes technicians. In fact, another fighter who does it with wide punches is Jorge Arce, right? As you look at the punches, yes, they're wide. I'm not here to say this guy doesn't throw wide, but understand they're also effective because of the number of punches the guy is throwing. Think about it. Here he is against Erik Morales. The fight goes 10 rounds. And Cano is averaging 68 punches thrown per round. Right? That's a lot, especially when a pretty healthy chunk of that are power punches. Right? 284 power punches out of the 652 he throws against Morales. And I'm just telling you, Morales had to be on his A game to beat Cano. So I don't know how the odd makers have Cano a 4-1 underdog. I think this young guy is a lot more dangerous than that. Let's remember, he's only lost to Erik Morales. Right? He's only lost to a guy who's a technician. And as you look at Erik Morales, I understand he is not quite the athlete he was when he was younger. I'll agree, if Erik Morales fought himself from 10 years ago, he'd be amazed at how much faster the younger Erik Morales was and how much more mobile the younger Erik Morales is. But understand that Erik Morales today has far more skills than most of the guys in boxing. For example, I think Erik Morales is obviously much more skilled than Danny Garcia. Much more skilled, right? But this is boxing. You know, power can offset skills. It only takes a big headhunter, 1 or 2 shots to level the playing field. But Erik Morales is highly skilled, and all I'm saying is Cano has not only already seen that level of skill, but Cano actually held his own against that level of skill. Right? Quite frankly, and you know, it's a theme of mine, I thought Cano's corner shouldn't have stopped the Morales fight because I thought Cano, who was getting tagged, was still in the match. And so I think Cano has already seen a fighter who's better than Paulie Malignaggi. I think Cano is going to come prepared to fight. I think the people in Brooklyn are going to be stunned to see how accurate and how high volume and how fearless Cano is. I think Malignaggi is going to find himself in a much tougher fight than he had against the champion Shinchenko, whose belt he lifted. Right? The bet I'm recommending here is Cano, the 4-1 underdog, to win the fight, straddled against the over. Right? The reason for that kind of hedge is if Cano wins the fight by decision, and I think he might, right? You win both sides of the bet. You get the plus 400 on the Cano to win, and you get the over. If Paulie Malignaggi wins by decision, and he's a New Yorker fighting in Brooklyn, then you hedge out. The Malignaggi by decision would be the over. You would win that part of the bet. You would lose the Cano to win part of the bet. But let me just end by saying I'm expecting the underdogs to do well on this card. I think Cano is going to do much better than expected. 4-1 underdog for a guy with this skill level? You got to be kidding me. I think Cano's a live underdog. As I said in an earlier video, I think Hassan Njikum is a live underdog. I think you need to give this card coming up a hard look. Take a look at the odds. Take a look at the video. Right? And don't just go by the hype that has Malignaggi as a greater than 6-1 favorite. He shouldn't be. Cano is talented. I like Cano to win the fight, the 4-1 underdog. Keep in mind, we're looking for value here, straddled against the over in the Cano Paulie Malignaggi fight this weekend. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com and DwyerBoxingNews.com. Thanks for stopping by.